Welcome to the Chambers Connect with Careers Week, sponsored by Capcom Federal Credit Union and Hoosick Valley Contractors. I'm Kate Manley, president of the Rensselaer County Regional Chamber of Commerce, and your host for the Connect with Careers Week. Today, I'm joined with Julie Hughes, who's the Senior Vice President of Risk Management at Capcom Federal Credit Union. Welcome, Julie.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we have a couple of questions for you about your career path, and students from across the Rensselaer County districts have compiled these. So to start off, your title is Senior Vice President of Risk Management. Tell me what that means. What exactly do you do?
So at Capcom, it's really enterprise risk management. So what I do on a daily basis is I work with all the divisions within Capcom on the deposits or the lending side, or even the technology side. And I guide the organization to identify potential risks, potential threats, issues, regulatory changes, and kind of help them break that down and determine how big of a deal is it? Things like that.
That's terrific. Now, what did your personal pathway look like to get to this role?
Well, I've been with Capcom almost 23 years, and I can tell you I've worked in many different departments. In 1998, I started as a financial services rep, as a teller. So that's the person when you walk into a bank or credit union that, those are the first people you see. So I started, helping members with deposits and withdrawals. And then I kind of help them with their lending needs and kind of, spent most of those first 10 years of my career in what's referred to as banking operations. Well, then, our CEO at the time came to me and said, "Hey, I'd like you to try something new." And she kind of moved me over to more of the back office operations of the credit union, which is kind of the backbone, that stuff that happens behind the scenes. And at that time, I needed to get certified in regulatory compliance. And I'm like, wow, I really like the regulatory compliance and kind of the rules, the regulations. And then in about 2010, the opportunity became actually was presented to me to say, you know what, we have this new department called risk management, and really, it's the regulatory compliance area, it's fraud prevention, it's, how do we protect our members when they're using our services? Information security, which is really how do we protect our members' information on our systems when they transact business, whether it's through a mobile phone or through the computer, how do we kind of protect all of that? So they said, you know what, you like compliance, maybe you'll be good at this role. So then I transitioned to risk management, and I've been there ever since, kind of leading a wonderful group of professionals in all of these different, back office areas.
That's terrific. So what does a typical day look like for you?
For me, again, I've got a great group of people that work for me. So in my role, I do a lot of vision, kind of where are we going as a team, kind of taking the strategy of the credit union itself, and then making sure that we're compliant, making sure from an information security perspective, if we want to add a new technology, that it's safe for our members to use, their data is secure when when they authenticate into it. So a lot of it is risk assessment. And I know that doesn't sound like fun, but let me tell you, I love it, because it's really taking a process, a technology, a regulation, and breaking it down and figuring out how it impacts the entire credit union. So I work with the chief officers of the other divisions just to make sure, whether it's the technology team, I'll take a look at, okay, we want to add this new feature in our mobile app. Okay, well, is it safe for our members to use, and things like that? And then I lead my team. So, the teams that directly report to me, I work with them to make sure that, the vision, the strategy, and kind of make sure we're all on the same page. And our department is in alignment with the corporate strategy moving forward.
That's great. So you talked a little bit about vision, but what other skills do you use on a daily basis in this role?
I would say, critical thinking. A lot of it is getting down into the details and being able to analyze. And creativity. Most people would probably think, creativity, your job sounds boring. And to most people it does, but, you know, we have to comply with a lot of laws and regulations, and it's taking that law, breaking it down and understanding how it's going to impact the organization, and then getting creative with how to actually implement it so that it benefits, all parties. um, I think those, I'm just trying to think of a couple of more things that aren't going to make me sound, really, really boring. But I would say learning and growing. I can tell you in every single one of the areas that I have to work in, I learn something new every single day. I think that's one of the things to continue to grow in my position. And that's one of the things that, one of the keys to my success is I never sit still from a growing and a learning perspective. If I'm not learning something new every day, the amount of change that happens in the banking industry, in the technology, from a security perspective, my job is to see all of those changes that are coming and make sure that Capcom is prepared to react to them. So I think that's one of the things that I love, is it's not boring and there's something new every day. Embracing change. I mean, change every single day. A process is changing, a regulation is changing, something's changing every day, and you have to embrace and kind of go with it.
And that's what makes it fun. You talked about success. One of the students submitted a question about how do you define success? So what would you answer that?
I think for me, success is is being passionate and loving what I do every day. I mean, it really comes down to that. In my role, I'm successful if I'm fulfilling my passion. I'm successful if my staff learn and grow as well. I think that's one of the great things about being a leader and a senior leader at Capcom is I have the opportunity to transfer knowledge to my team, and seeing my team learn and grow and develop in their roles is success to me. Because,
Absolutely.
if my team isn't successful, I'm not successful. And I think
Absolutely.
that's one of the greatest things about me.
That's terrific. Can you talk a little bit about, obviously, this year with this pandemic, how has Capcom been affected by COVID-19, and what ways have you pivoted or diversified? You talked a little bit about this, just staying ahead of everything, but can you elaborate a little bit more for our students?
Sure. I think one of the responsibilities that falls within my team is what's called, disaster recovery or business continuity planning. So we had a pandemic plan in place that we have to regularly test. So for Capcom, my team kind of jumped in and put that plan into action. So for us, we had to figure out first, how do we keep our employees safe? How do we keep our members safe? But also, how do we continue to serve their needs? So the first thing we did was the back office employees that we could get to work from home. We immediately, got them laptops and let them transition to home. But then we also had to figure out, those employees that need to serve our members in the branches, how do we keep them safe? So we did go to a drive-through only model for a while, kind of earlier in the spring as things were slowing down. And then, in June, we reopened our branches again, just to kind of let our members to continue to come in. So for us, the amount of regulatory change that came out of the state and the federal level, breaking that down, figuring out how do we comply with that, and then continue to serve those members. So there's quite a bit of impact to our organization, but I can tell you, we're resilient, and there hasn't been a lot of impact to our members and their ability to bank with us, which is pretty exciting.
That's terrific. Now, final question for you. What would you tell students that are perhaps interested in this type of a career path?
I would say the sky's the limit. There's so many different career paths in banking, and most people think banking is boring, but it's not. I mean, there's the the in branch and the sales side of it. So if you're someone who likes sales, likes people, but then there's also the back office, people who are analytical and detailed, and like that kind of work. We have a huge technology team that develops software for us. So no matter what interests you, there is a lot of opportunity, in the banking environment, and it really isn't as boring as it sounds.
Well, thank you so much, Julie, for being with us today. We really appreciate it. And if students want to reach out to you, we would make sure to connect them with you for further questions. So thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks.